Hey y'all, in today's video, I'm going to be talking some more about stuff that I wanted this year and didn't buy. I've already done an all makeup version of this video, makeup that I wanted in 2020 and didn't buy, and I'll try to remember to link that at the top of the description box. In this video, I'm going to be talking about other categories. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Hannah, and I've spent the past 3 years basically recovering from being a person who overspends on beautiful things. Makeup, clothing, homewares. Those have been my problem categories in the past. So for the first year, 2018, I did a no buy year. I didn't buy anything from any of those categories for the entire year, just to reset my brain and give myself a fresh start. And then for the last 2 years, I've been carefully budgeting, seeking moderation, seeking balance. And a good bit of my content here revolves around that journey. If that sounds good to you, I hope that you'll subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So this is literally just a list that I dashed off. It is by no means comprehensive. I don't think that I could remember every single thing that I really wanted or almost bought or felt like buying this year and didn't buy. There's just too much of it. And I kind of indicated this in the makeup version of this video, but I'll say it again. My life is wanting things and not buying them. I guess I'd say getting my shopping behavior under control has made me less obsessive much of the time, that's true. And it's made it easier to distinguish between the serious impulses and like unserious ones, or ones that I really should pay no mind to. But recovering from the crazy overspending of my late 20s, early 30s hasn't meant that I am free from wanting stuff. I'm not like free from the desire for stuff. I've just unlinked the desire for stuff from the behavior of buying stuff most of the time. Of course, I do still make the purchases that my budget allows. I allow myself to do it some of the time, but because my budget is finite, I'm less prone to spend it impulsively because I know that eventually it will run out. So I'm in that headspace all the time. I'm right there with you. And I want to go through this list and kind of like reflect on all the times I was in that headspace and then managed not to buy the thing. And at the end, I'm going to do like a rough tally of the prices of all of these things that I resisted buying. And again, this is just the list that I've dashed off, the inconclusive list, but I'm gonna add it all up and kind of let you know how much I saved and what my year might have looked like if I had bought all the things that I wanted in the way that I kind of used to do. This video was partly inspired by the makeup version, but it was also inspired by two things, the two things that I've wanted the most recently, and I mentioned them already in my check-in video. So one is the long-sleeved wool top from COS. I have that top in 2 other colors, and it makes it particularly hard to resist buying it because I know that I would love it and wear it a lot, because the 2 that I have, I love them and I wear them a lot. They're really practical for me. They've lasted really well. They wash up really well. They keep me warm. It's like a very, very thin, clingy merino wool with thumb holes and super long sleeves and super long torso. And so I just find it that when they're new, the 2 that I have, not when they're new, when they're washed, it's like the first thing that I want to wear. And they've just been like that, both of them for the entire year. One of them, I've had one of them for a year and one of them, I think, for 2 years. They're just like that. They're just like that. They're so perfect. They're just exquisite. So it's the exact same pattern, the exact same fabric, and it's been released in this beautiful beige color. And honestly, this is one that I think maybe if I had budget left, I might buy it. And if it's still in store in 2021, maybe sometime in January, I will buy it. Like that's how I think sort of thought through how intelligent of a desire it is. It's not coming from this place where I'm like, if I only had this, then I would be a different woman, which is where a lot of these desires have come from. It's not that. It's like, oh, this would be really practical. But I resisted buying it because by the time I became aware that it's something that's in the store right now at COS, I had spent my entire budget for the year. And there's no way that I'm gonna break my vow to myself that I'm not spending past my budget just for one measly little long sleeve merino wool top, no matter how much I think I would love it. The other thing, however, that I wanted recently and then resisted the urge to buy would probably not be a good buy for me, even if I had my entire year's budget intact. It was a tie-dyed Aviator Nation, not even a tracksuit, like a sweatsuit, sweatshirt and sweatpants. And I just, this was like a classic example of me being gripped by that like fluttery, passionate, palm sweaty, just like love longing. You know what I mean? I was in love. I was like it was like love at first sight. My heart was beating out of my chest and I was just like, I was like, I need it deep in my loins. I like need it. I know that version of myself. I know that she's fickle. I know that the desire will fade, especially when it's something so expensive, like this Aviator Nation stuff. It's like $150 for the sweatshirt and like $180 for the pants or vice versa. I can't remember, but in any case, it adds up to like over $300 to buy the whole matched set. And that's just not it. That is just not it for me right now in my life. So yeah, it would have been entirely unwise. But I would say it was like 3 or 4 days when I kept going back to the website and just being like, if only, if only. Now, of course, it's not just expensive, but it's also, I again didn't have any budget left. So I knew that I wasn't gonna do it. That was last week. And it's not like if this week someone walked in and was like, surprise, I got you an Aviator Nation tie-dyed sweatsuit for Christmas, I would be like, oh, I don't want it anymore. Take it away. Like, it's not like that. Of course I would still love to have it. It's just, I no longer have that like sweaty palms, that like the kind of like double heart beating thing that used to make me follow through with it and put the stuff in my cart and check out and click it and put it on my credit card and just be, and like close my eyes and just do it. That used to, those feelings, those like sweaty palm feelings, that's what used to make me do that back before my no buy year. And that phase of being interested in this exorbitantly expensive sweatsuit is now over. It only lasted for a couple of days. Next on the list is something else that I've already talked about on here, the print fresh pajamas. At the beginning of the year, I was kind of a pajama minimalist. I ended up investing in a beautiful pair of silk pajamas from Morgan Lane. They were on sale, but still, it was a lot of money early in the year when I still had like a lot of budget left. And then I was like, I'm fine, this is it, this is all I need. Of course, then COVID happened and I was like in my pajamas all the time. And I probably would have gone on to buy another set or two of pajamas, but YesStyle ended up sending me a couple pairs of pajamas in PR. So I was like, I'm good with that. I have plenty of pajamas. They're lovely, we're good. And then I discovered these print fresh pajamas and I really, really wanted some. But by the time it kind of got serious between me and this desire, again, I didn't really have enough of my budget left and it was hard to make myself pull the trigger because of the fact that I already have pajamas. And then I ended up buying some for some of my family members for Christmas. And they are so beautiful in person. Like when they arrived and I started wrapping them up, I was like, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. And first of all, when I was making the purchase of Christmas presents, I was sorely tempted to put some in the cart for myself, but I resisted that urge because I sort of have a policy that I don't sneak things for myself in when I'm buying gifts because that's just such a slippery slope. I've been down that road before and it's a way to easily spend like an extra several $100s on yourself during November and December that you otherwise wouldn't have spent. So I didn't do that. And then when they arrived, they were so beautiful that once again, I was like, I want them. I was like, I want a pair for myself. But of course, I didn't want to break my budget. I didn't want to overspend past my budget and I'd already spent it all, so I didn't. Loungewear is a whole thing though this year. There's a lot of loungewear in this video. I feel like loungewear is the thing that everyone wanted to buy in piles this year. And yet the next thing on my list is like the opposite of loungewear. I got really into this brand Doen. They make like, it looks kind of like, it's like Anne of Green Gables meets Little House on the Prairie meets some sort of like anthropology situation, and maybe you live near the ocean, but also sort of coffee shops, and then you like don't wear a bra, but maybe you journal with like a quill pen, like a quill feather pen, and grasses. You're like in the heather, you're like in the grasses and the heather, and you're on a picnic. Many of the times you're on a picnic, and it's like you love your body, and it always feels good because fabric is just flowing around you, and it's okay if like a baby spits up on it because you can just wash it and then dry it on your clothesline. Very that. So when I was looking for a house dress on which to spend the last pretty significant chunk of my budget, I wanted it to have distinction, have like the distinction of fashion. I came across this brand and I was like, okay, I want to get a dress from Doen. And I picked one out and I did buy it. That's not the thing that I wanted and didn't buy. It's one of the things that I wanted and did buy. But in the process of learning about the brand and researching them and watching some reviews on YouTube, I wanted so much stuff from the brand. I wanted a blouse. I wanted a plain black blouse, and I wanted a flower blouse, and I wanted socks, and I wanted t-shirts and I wanted other dresses, so many dresses, and I wanted like long sleeve dresses, I wanted short sleeve dresses, I wanted sleeveless dresses, I wanted flowered dresses, I wanted white dress. Like there was like 15 things from Doen in my cart that I was trying to choose between to spend, and you know, spending that last chunk of my budget with their prices being the way they are, it was just one thing. I could like pick one thing from this brand that I had newly discovered. And it's worth, I think, putting on the list, even though I did end up buying one thing from the brand, because buying just one thing is something that I still find difficult, even 3 years into this journey of changing my behavior. One of the ways that I used to slide into overspending is that I would curate my shopping carts when I shopped. So when I was shopping online, I would go online and I would put something into my Sephora cart, and then I would be like, it looks good with it. Like they feel good together. It's like so sweet. They're nice together. And then there's like this third little thing. And like the idea of the three of them together, it's like they suited each other. It was like I was making a little collection, like curating a little collection just in the act of like buying the things all together. And I was always looking for that feeling of satisfaction of like matching things and pairing things and having like a sweet little group of things. And so to just put one thing in the cart and to buy it, it's almost like doing that reminded me that it's just this very utilitarian, bare, raw thing. You're just like spending money and getting the thing. It made it feel more transactional, more consumerist, and less artistic, and less to do with my identity. And so for many years, I resisted that. If I wanted one thing from Sephora, I would either wait until I wanted more things and buy them all together, or I would trick myself into wanting more things. I would keep scrolling the site and keep adding things into my cart so that I could buy a collection of my own devising instead of just buying the one thing that I originally went to buy. And I absolutely would do the same thing even with expensive clothes, even with something like this. I would have gone and been like, okay, well, I'm gonna get this dress, but then it would be sweet to have like these socks with it and also just a blouse. That makes like a nice little haul. You know what I mean? And this was like before I was on YouTube or even knew that I was ever gonna be, before I even watched YouTube and even kind of knew what a haul was. I was still creating these like haul moments in my shopping life. And when I got into this brand, Doen, and I decided to buy a dress from them, I had the powerful urge to do that. I wanted to buy a dress and a blouse and have it be this little like haul moment of two things. The thing that stopped me in this case is probably just that I didn't have enough budget left, to be totally honest. I think that if it were earlier in the year and if I still had, you know, like half of my year's budget left, I might have gone ahead and done it. So it's just a really interesting, it's an interesting case study in a couple of things. This thing about having it be hard to buy only one thing for some reason, how great the budget is, how the bold-faced fact of it just working because it's like iron, you know what I mean? It's just set in. It like you reach the cap and then you're done. And as long as I keep my vow to myself that I'm not going to break it, it enforces itself. But yeah, there are so many things from Doen that I really, really, really wanted this year. And for one reason or another, didn't buy. More clothes. There's a lot of clothing on here. A bunch of stuff that I discovered through Nude. So Nude is a clothing subscription rental service. And for I think it was just the first 2 months of the year, maybe the first 3 months, I was doing it. I was paying for it with my budget. I was using some of my personal beauty budget to rent clothes from Nude so that I could have the experience of doing this rental thing, to review it on YouTube, to wear the clothes on YouTube, because I like being able to, put together kind of interesting looks for you guys. It's just one of the things that I enjoy about this. I know that it's not a requirement of making videos, but it is something that I enjoy, and it like helps me to infuse my experience with energy. But I wasn't using my YouTube channel budget on it, although by rights I probably could have. It was my personal beauty budget that I was using on that. And through that, I found a number of things that I would have been fine never seeing again. Like, they were fun to wear and fun to wear on camera, but they weren't the kinds of things that I would buy. And then there were a couple things that I really, really, really wanted. And it just felt too rich for my blood at that time in terms of spending my budget. So this was in the first couple months of the year. One of them was, I don't know if you guys remember this, I wore it on camera a bunch of times. It was like a sweatshirt but it was one shoulder. It was by the brand Selkie. It had one puffed sleeve and one long sleeve. And then the other side, it was like a totally bare shoulder. I absolutely loved that piece. I would have loved to keep it and wear it on camera like 100 more times. And it was kind of cozy, even though it was so dramatic in its silhouette. There was an incredible overcoat. That's probably like one of my favorite garments I've ever gotten the chance to wear. It was by Waugh, and it was wildly expensive. I think it was something like $1,400. And I think that in the Nuuly, you know, in the back end of Nuuly, when you are renting stuff, they're like, if you want to keep this, you can buy it at a discount. And the coat was discounted, and it was like, you could have it for a cool $1,200. Like, they were offering me to keep the coat for $1,200. Of course I wasn't going to buy that. Like, of course not. But did I ever want it? I mean, it hurt with a pain in my chest when I sent it back. I loved it so, so much. It was just like very elegant, simple, oversized plaid, went with everything, made everything look incredible. Like, I've never felt cooler than I felt when I was wearing that coat. So those were from my experience with Nuuly at the beginning of the year. And then recently, Nuuly offered me a free month to review on YouTube. And I ended up buying one dress from that free month, but there were some other things that I really, really liked. Most of all, that it was like a white cotton blouse with a ruffled collar and kind of like a thin blue lined plaid. And that was another thing that when I was packing it away to send it back, I was like, I wish I could just buy it and keep it. And I could have, but it was getting close to the end of the year. I had a finite amount left of my budget. I was already kind of thinking that I wanted to buy the dress from Doen, and I knew that if I bought that top in addition to buying the dress from that box, that I wouldn't have enough to buy the other dress. So I had to choose, and I chose the Doen dress. And I didn't buy that one from the Nuuly box, but I really wanted it. Okay, the next one on the list is very weird, but it's also like very much a thing. Perfume. And I'll tell you first why it's weird. It's because I haven't worn perfume almost at all this year. This year, with quarantine, with 2020, my perfume collection has just stagnated. It's just been sitting there. It's definitely a thing. You know, the thing that has happened with some people with makeup has happened with me with perfume. So some people have realized that they don't actually really like wearing makeup, that they only wear it when they're like going out and about to be around people, but when they're at home alone, they just don't wear it. And so the quarantine has like shown them the true nature of their relationship with makeup. I'm not like that with makeup. I've continued to put on makeup as a ritual many mornings. There were some months, especially towards the beginning, where I kind of felt like it was the only thing getting me through. Like, I've really been like clinging to the enjoyment of that as one of the things that has kept me, even in isolation, right? Even in quarantine. But my perfume, I put it on when I'm gonna go out in the world. It's absolutely a thing that I wear to like move through the world, to like breeze down the street, you know? And so not moving through the world, not breezing down the street, I just haven't really been wearing it. And yet, I have wanted a number of perfumes really almost with that sweaty palms feeling this year, where I've just been like itching for them and wanting them so badly. And it really shows me that my desire for perfumes is in many cases this kind of fantasy about identity and fantasy about transformation, because it's weird. It really puts it sharply when you're wanting a thing that's the kind of thing that you're truly not using or wearing at all. So there were 4 perfumes that I have experience with that I don't own right now that I remember wanting at one point or another this year. One is Glossier You. I can't remember. I think it was in my empties this year. I think I probably used it up this year. I find that a really comforting and easy to wear fragrance. And I actually do think that part of the reason why I kept thinking that I wanted it or wanted another bottle of it, like a full bottle, is that I was like, well, I'm not wearing any of my current perfumes in quarantine, but I'd wear that. Like, that would be like my quarantine perfume because it's so inoffensive and it like melds with your body chemistry, and I would just like put it on every day and then it would be comforting me. But I have other scents that I could be wearing in quarantine and I just haven't been. So I know that it was a fallacy. I know that I wouldn't, but I do think that the experience of the year was kind of wrapped up. The specific aspects of this year were kind of wrapped up in my desire for that one. Replica by the Fireplace, maybe a similar thing. Actually, maybe these next two. So By the Fireplace and Commodities Gold are both like really, really intensely sweet, kind of smoky, but like intensely sweet vanilla scents. And I think that I was kind of like, oh, I just need like a smoky, cozy vanilla scent to like get me through this challenging year. And it's like, well, if you want to wear perfume, why aren't you just wearing the other ones you have? Like, why? I just know that it wouldn't matter if it was Glossier You, if it was Replica, By the Fireplace, if it was Commodity Gold. It wouldn't matter how cozy and vanilla and warm and yummy it is. Every time I am about to wear perfume these days, I just stop myself and I'm kind of like, why? And I do not think that that would be different if I had different scents or if I had one of these favorite scents. I think that I was hungry for them. I was craving them, craving to buy them, because there's still this part of my brain that's imprinted with the memory of buying a scent and then wearing it being like this comforting, grounding, cozy thing. And because it was such a tough year, I felt like I needed comforting and grounding and coziness. And so this part of my brain kept trying to push that button. And I'm just glad that this other part of my brain was wise enough to be like, no, that button won't work right now. And then the last one that I thought about with some nostalgia was Thé Noir by Le Labo, which I've never actually owned a full bottle of. I've just had some samples of it, but I know that I really like it. And every once in a while I'm like, wouldn't it be so nice to own Le Labo's Thé Noir? I bet I would get a lot of good use out of it. And so that thought and that desire did visit me pretty intensely a couple of times over the course of the year. But, you know, needless to say, I didn't go buy it any of those times. Okay, here's another one that I've talked about on YouTube. I talked about this the month that I discovered this website and discovered this loungewear and really, really wanted it, but I still don't know how to pronounce it. It's spelled Tkees, Tkees, but I think it's probably pronounced keys, like maybe the T is silent. I think that they started out making very spare, minimalist, like leather thong sandals, like leather, or either leather or leather look flip-flops, which I could kind of take them, I could take them or leave them. But then they branched out into this beautiful, it's like neutral colors, oversized cozy hoodies and these like slouchy drop crotch joggers. And there's also like t-shirts and tank tops that match the joggers, and there's pants, shorts. It's like all the same colors, and you can mix and match the top and the bottom. And I love all the colors and I love all the silhouettes. And they're very expensive, the joggers are like over $100 and the hoodies are over $100. So it's once again a thing where if you buy just one outfit, you're spending like between $200 and $300. So that was what stopped me. It was in the middle of the year, and it was during the time when I had vowed only to spend a tiny bit of my budget every month, because I had spent so much at the beginning of the year and I wanted to just like take a really long breather. So it was outside of the parameters for spending that I had set for myself. And honestly, that is the only thing that stopped me. The only thing, because I really did have that like powerful craving, sweaty palms, heart double beat. And I also felt like it was practical, because I was just like, all I want to wear is cozy stuff and sweatpants. And so I'm rolling around in like my just motley collection of loungy stuff that I've gathered over the years. And this would give me that coziness and the excitement of the new, but it would be so incredibly chic and I would look amazing, and then that would make me feel amazing. And that idea was, to me, very compelling. But I didn't buy them, I waited it out, and eventually that passion did fade. And it is still something that's kind of on my radar. Like, I could see myself maybe buying the jogger, like buying one set next year, maybe, if I really decide that that's like the one thing I really want to focus a good bit of my budget into for like a good chunk of the year. So it's like, I still think about it. It's not like I no longer like the idea of that stuff, but I just, again, like so much of this, I just don't feel that burning feeling anymore. You know, it's no longer an itch. It's just a thought. And you know, loungewear in general, I feel like 100 times this year, I've reminded myself that I have sweatpants and I have sweatshirts and they are cozy. It's just that they're not brand new, or they're not matching. You know what I mean? They're not like all beige. It's not like an all beige Instagram looking matching thing, or they're in the wash or something. And that's the reason why it feels like I don't have enough, but that I do have them, and that this quarantine won't last forever. And in the meantime, I can be cozy and I can be comfortable with what I have. Because many times I've wanted to buy some sort of like sand colored matching oversized hoodie and cozy sweatpants. Many times I've wanted that. Kind of in the same vein of sort of casting about for comfort or for coziness, expensive, luxurious bath products. That's something that I sort of impulsively leaned into wanting and then pulled myself back from a bunch of times this year. I took a lot of baths with like body wash as the bubble bath instead of going and like spending $100 at Lush or like placing 1,000 orders from House of Glory one right after another. I did buy some things from House of Glory, I think at the very beginning of the pandemic. One of those months, maybe April or May, I bought a little bit of bubbling scrub. So it wasn't like I didn't have any luxurious bathing experiences or any luxurious bathing products, but the temptation was to go like completely overboard and to like stack my cabinets with like piles of bubble bath and bath bombs and stuff like that. And I didn't do that. It was like the same thing. It was like you can take a bath and you can reap the benefits of a relaxing bath without spending hundreds of dollars, because to the tune of what I wanted, that's what it would have added up to. Even the Dove body scrub, my friend Simbri sent me a jar of Dove body scrub a couple of months ago and I really, really liked it. And as I was getting close to the bottom of the jar, I was like, I want to buy more. I want to buy all of the flavors. And I went online and I looked, and you know, the price was a little bit high online compared to what she said she got them for in store. And I put a bunch of them in my cart and it was adding up, you know, I was going to get like 3 of them and it was going to be like $40 or something. And then I just didn't. I just clicked out of the window and I was like, I can just wash myself with the body wash that I already have. It's going to be okay. And it has been. Have you guys heard of babaa, the brand, the sweater brand? They make like these amazing, they Instagram ad targeted me. That's how I found out about them. I haven't really heard anyone talking about them, but this is a website that I've gone to probably like 40 times this year. I just like looked at the sweaters and been like, if I were a wealthy woman, like which colors would I buy? Which ones would I buy? And you know, I have entertained the notion a couple of times of spending a huge chunk of my budget on one of those sweaters. I think that they're like 250 euros or something, which adds up to probably close to $300. It would be like the most expensive sweater I've ever bought. I mean, it would be costing more than the Doen dress, more than the other house dress that I bought, more than the Ulla Johnson blouse. It would be like incredibly expensive. So I've sort of lightly entertained the notion and then I've never followed through with it. But they're so pretty, and that's something that I've really wanted this year. Like I've wanted with the passion of 1,000 burning suns. I just have always known that they're squarely out of the range of possibility for me. Oh, so many dresses from Poshmark. When I was looking for dresses to buy, house dresses, I was originally thinking I would just keep the one from Nude, and then I found the Doen one, and then I looked at how much budget I had left and I realized that I could get them both and then that would be it, and then I would have to stop. But in that process, I spent a bunch of time on Poshmark searching for cotton dresses that would work as house dresses. So I was doing search terms like balloon sleeve 100% cotton dress, or like cotton maxi, flowy cotton maxi dress, or like embroidered cotton maxi dress. I was like trying to turn up stuff from like Free People and Zara that was like still in really good shape, but you know, being sold at a pretty low price because it's secondhand. And, you know, I much prefer to buy something secondhand, especially from shops like that. So I developed this long list of like beautiful, flowy cotton, editorial cotton dresses being resold on Poshmark. And most of them, if not all of them, were like priced much lower than the 2 dresses that I ended up buying. And almost all of them, if not all of them, were much less nice than the 2 that I ended up buying, because even though they were interesting and editorial and would have been really comfortable and were 100% cotton, they were almost all from brands like Zara and H&M. Again, brands that I feel okay buying secondhand products from, but that I'm not shopping directly from these days. So they were very appealing because I could have gotten 2 or even 3 of the kinds of house dresses that I was looking for and spent less of my budget in doing that. And ultimately I decided to go with fewer, nicer things because I wanted the dresses, I wanted to be sure that the dresses would hold up through many, many wears and many, many, many seasons. I really wanted to be sure I was buying something that I could wear forever, not just in terms of the silhouette, but in terms of the fabric lasting and the stitching. And I wanted to feel like the things I had purchased were exquisite. So that's ultimately why I went with these instead of with those. But then I had bought these two and my budget was gone. And then that long list of cotton dresses, like cheapy peepy alternatives, was still there, and they kind of like have continued to haunt me. And every once in a while I go back and look at them and I'm like, I could have all of these dresses. But then I don't buy them. I spent a couple weeks there really into this shoe brand that I like called United Nude. I've been into them for a long time. I've been following their future career with great interest. They make these really beautiful kind of like trick of the eye shoes. There's a Mobius strip sandal that they make, and they make these shoes with like the illusion heel, looks like an empty heel. I do own a pair of sandals that I purchased from them years ago in New York. I mean, it was like years ago, and they've held up incredibly well. Like they're still sturdy, they still look beautiful, and I've worn them. I was about to say I've worn them to bits, but they haven't gone to bits. I've worn them to a degree that would have worn any other pair of sandals to bits, but they have like a structure in them so that there's the part that's along the ground, and then there's the heel where your foot sits, and there's space in between. They just look really cool. I'll try to put a picture in. Anyway, I have those sandals from United Nude. I love them, and every once in a while I go back to their site and like see what they've made this year, this season. So a couple months ago I went back to the site, and some of the boots from this season, I was just like, oh my God, I love it so much, and I would wear it not to pieces, and it would be perfect, and like after quarantine I could wear them everywhere and they'd be perfect. And I got that urge, I got that itch, and I was just like, oh my gosh, if only I could just buy one, maybe I should. But then I didn't, and then the urge passed. It was a little easier with shoes right now, because I was thinking about, I think it was like this desire to buy something that I'm excited to wear after COVID, because the thought of that was like cheering me up. The thought of like buying a thing that putting energy and putting resources into like what life's gonna be like when the world opens back up again. I think that's kind of where that impulse was coming from. But I can just wait until the world opens back up again and then really see where I'm at financially, logistically, physically, and what I actually want and need then. Oh, this one's totally ridiculous to me, this next one. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I only have 2 pairs of jeans in the world, and really I only have one. I have one real pair of jeans, which are those distressed, high-waisted, 90s style jeans from a Gold, those like black ripped jeans, they have like big holes in the knees. So those are like true denim jeans, right? They're like 100% cotton denim, and I've looked and looked and found the fit that I love, and I wear them whenever I want to wear like jeans with an outfit. But I also have a pair of Citizens of Humanity high-rise rocket skinny jeans, and they are not actually jeans, right? They're like they're really stretchy and really tight. Actually, I'm wearing them right now. I'll just show them to you. I have had these for a really, really long time, and I don't know how well you can see it, and it might also be because the effect has worn off, but they were originally very leather look. Like they had this, they're black, and then they had this like coating on them that made them really shiny. Like they looked really, really like intense, tight, shiny, faux leather jeans basically. And I've worn them and washed them so many times that the shine is kind of off of them, and now they kind of just look like tight, dark black jeggings, or like, really tight skinny jeans. And I haven't been wearing them for several years because I just am not really that into skinny jeans. I don't feel like they look that good on me, and my wardrobe has sort of evolved away from that. I just keep them because I wear them when I go clubbing. Like anytime I ever go out dancing at a club, or if I really want to put together an outfit like that, that's like I'm glammed up or I'm dressed up, but in a way that's kind of casual. I've had multiple experiences where I'm going into an environment like that and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have nothing to wear. And then I'm like, aha, my tight skinny jeans. And I like dig them out from the bottom of a box, and then I put them on with a pair of heels and like, I don't know, a little tank top, and then I'm good to go. So I keep them for that. And I'm glad that I have them. They do come in handy. When I need them, I really, really need them, but most of the time I don't. So recently, Julia was decluttering some of her jeans, And she was like, do you want any of these jeans? And her jeans are all skinny jeans. And so I tried on some of them and they didn't quite fit me. Like, you know, I'm much taller than her. And so the proportions were like not quite right. The one pair that almost worked, I like had it on for a little while. I was wearing it around. And then I was like, no, I really like, these just don't fit right. And it's just like not the right choice for me to keep them. But it made me want to wear my tight skinny jeans. So I dug these ones out and I've been wearing them. This is like the second time in a week that I've worn them just like for a normal day. Like I've worn them as part of my outfit. And then of course, what did I do as soon as I started wearing them again? I went on Poshmark and I looked for these jeans again in a different color. I just like went on Poshmark and I was like, I searched for them and I was like, I wonder if there's any of these on the resale market and other colors. And it's like, Hannah, you have had them for years. I mean, I've had them, I think since like 2013. Was that right? Because I remember I had them in Argentina. I've had them since at least 2014. And I have not been wearing them as part of my everyday. And I just started wearing them. So in a way, it's like my wardrobe has been infused by them recently because it's like I've gained something new, I've started wearing them again. And immediately I'm like, I should get another pair. Like it doesn't make sense on any level. And yet I found some on Poshmark, secondhand. I found some and I wanted to buy them. I didn't, for all of the reasons I just stated, and also because I don't have any budget left, but I wanted to. Okay, I'm gonna breeze through these last two things because I've had it with myself. I've had it with this list. But I wanted to include the second to last one. Both of these actually are like kind of a departure because it's not clothes for myself. It's not stuff. It's not even like traditional Hannah's Beautiful Things stuff. But I just wanted to diversify the list a little bit by adding them. So Joe and I moved out of in our old apartment. Our bed was pushed, the head of the bed was pushed up against a wall. And when we moved here into Julia and Oliver's erstwhile living room, there's not really a wall that works like that. Like the way that the bed is, it's just sitting in sort of in the middle of the room. It's like at least a foot, if not like 2 feet off of the windows at the front of the house, the head of the bed. So the head of the bed's just like floating in space. So we put it there and then we were like, we have to get a headboard. Like we have to get a headboard to like nail on or screw into the bed so that we can lean up against it, because we had never had our bed not up against a wall. We'd never had it so that you can't like lean against something when you're in bed. So the idea that we needed to get this like homewares thing or this like piece of furniture, the idea that we like needed to buy something to make our new living situation exactly right, or to make it exactly what we'd been used to, or to like solve this immediate glaring problem that was created by the logistics of our new surroundings. It was like a knee-jerk thing for both of us. Like immediately we were like, okay, well we can put the bed here, but we have to get a headboard. Okay, let's start researching headboards. Okay, we'll do that. So we started researching them and we found some, and you know, it was gonna cost like $100 or $150 to get like a cheapy peepy one to work for this time. And right before we pulled the trigger on it, I was like, let's just wait. Let's wait like a month and see if we are miserable and see if we keep thinking about it and keep talking about it. So we didn't immediately do it. And then we completely forgot about it. And every night we just get in bed and we like lean on our pillows and then we fall asleep. And you know, I think if we did get one, we'd love it. We'd love being able to lean against it. And I think that when we move again, if we can have our bed against a wall so that we can lean against the wall while we're reading in bed, it'll be great. And we'll be like, oh, this is comfortable. This is more comfortable than it was before. It's easier to read in bed than it was before, whatever. So that's true. That is 100% true. It's not ideal the way it is, but it's not the opposite of ideal to the tune of $150 and this big unwieldy thing that we would have to attach, and then we'd have it, and then when we move we'd have to detach it, and like we're fine. And so just that little moment of being like, what if we don't let the knee jerk, the part of us that's like, oh, we have to fix it immediately, okay, we gotta buy this, we gotta just, like, what if we just put the brakes on and don't let that kind of like automatic shopping behavior make the decision for us, and just wait and like make a decision later about whether it's really a good choice. And in this case, in doing that, we saved ourselves a lot of time and money and trouble. And I think we definitely don't miss it. We don't actively miss the headboard that we didn't buy. So that's another thing that I wanted this year and didn't buy. And then lastly, it's not something that I wanted, but it's something that I wanted to buy. I have wanted to buy baby clothes for the baby that I'm living with, Julianne Alvar's baby, and other baby stuff. Like, I want to buy baby stuff all the time because it's just so tempting. It's all so cute when you start looking at it online, and then you start getting like retargeting ads for it every time you're online. You see all these little like tiny baby piano, tiny baby drums, tiny baby hoodie, tiny baby socks with prints, tiny baby like raincoat, and it's just so cute and you want to scream. Tiny baby towel with like a hood with little dinosaur spikes, and it's like, it's not even my baby, you know? And I just have felt this like voracious flooding desire to like buy cute baby stuff. And I'm here to tell you that I have done, if I do say so myself, a magnificent job of resisting. I've bought her a little bit of stuff. So like some cute hair clips for hair, one little outfit one time, and a couple of books. And that's it. And that represents like, you have no idea like what a minuscule fraction of the things that I have wanted to buy for this baby my actual purchases represent. And so I just wanted to finish out the video with those two because, you know, most of it's very much like, I wanted sweaters, I wanted sweatsuits, I wanted to be cool, I wanted to be pretty, I wanted makeup, you know what I mean? Like most of it's very that. But, you know, there have also been things this year that are like, not even for me, like just wanting to buy something really, really cute and little and adorable, and you know, or things that were like for the house, for Joe and me, that our instincts were immediately like, oh, we should definitely get this. You can't not get it. Like that's kind of how it has been with the headboard and other furniture related stuff, and with this like really cute baby stuff. It's like, it's so cute, you can't not get it, or it's so necessary, or it's so what we're used to, you can't not get it. And I guess I just wanted to finish the video by saying that there have been several cases this year where I was faced with a, like, you can't not get it for X reason. And I was like, yes, I can. Yes, I can not get it. And then I didn't get it. So I went through and I did some loose math, some wiggly math. I just kind of estimated what I would have been spending if I had purchased every one of these things, or like groups of things. So I kind of estimated if I had let myself go wild with like luxurious bath products, what I might have ended up spending. And then I put in the prices of the things that I know the prices of. And then I went through and added it all up. So if I had like bought the tie-dye tracksuit, the long sleeve wool top, the Tkees loungewear set, all of the perfumes, and if I had, you know, bought the expensive body care stuff and the babaa sweater and all of the stuff that I just told you about, and the baby clothes and the headboard, etc., it adds up to $3,843. So pretty much $4,000. That is twice my actual yearly budget. Twice what I had allotted myself to spend on beautiful things this year. And that's not even including makeup. There's no makeup on this list because I had a whole other video for makeup. Looking over the list, it doesn't seem like that much stuff. Like, it doesn't seem like that many line items. And when you think about the ones like the body care stuff, you know what I mean? Like bubble bath, for example, which I feel like you can just spend so much more than you mean to because you're like using it as you buy it, you know what I mean? So it just doesn't seem, it seems kind of reasonable, right? When I look at the list of things, it's like, oh yeah, I could totally have seen myself in another life or in another situation, just like buying these things and feeling like I was just behaving normally, like engaging in kind of like normal consumer behavior of a type. But if I'd bought it all when I wanted it, and also bought the stuff that I did buy this year with the actual budget that I did spend, I would have spent $6,000 on this type of thing. These indulgent, or in some cases feels like a necessity, but really isn't. This type of thing, the kinds of things with which I like to surround myself to feel my oats, I would have spent $6,000. And again, that's not even including makeup. If I had bought the makeup that I wanted, let's say that I had done something like replicated my 2017 Sephora spending, which I did some whole videos like counting up how much I spent at Sephora in 2017. So if I had never changed my ways and if I was continuing to spend like that at Sephora or on beauty products or on makeup every year, if I had done that this year, in addition to all the things I wanted to buy and all the things I did buy, I would have spent $10,000 or $12,000 on beautiful things this year. It's so much money, but it could have happened, again, if I hadn't changed my brain, changed my ways, if I hadn't been budgeting, it could have happened easily. Knowing myself, knowing my desires, their frequency and their potency, and the way that I used to look away from my spending, the way that I used to ignore my financial situation, not look at my bank account, and just spend and spend and spend, knowing how I used to be and knowing how I have felt about all of these things over the course of this year, this incredibly hard year, it could have happened easily. I'm so glad about my budget. I'm so glad. And I mean, I don't know, there have been times this year where I've been like, I'm fine. Like I am like great at staying under control. And then there have been times when I have my finger hovering over the button, ready to buy something that was too expensive for my budget. And the hard fact of the budget was the only thing that kept me from doing it. So it's really just showing me, especially going back and remembering how many of those things there were, getting back in touch with those feelings, being glad that I didn't buy them and also being glad that I didn't spend the money. It kind of reminds me how important it is to continue to set clear rules for myself, even though those rules are kind of like evolving as I evolve. The other thing that this does, looking back over this, is, and I don't know if I'll really be able to explain this, I'm just kind of trying off the cuff, but it kind of puts me in this weird place of feeling like it doesn't matter as much as I tend to stress about. It doesn't matter as much exactly what I bought. Like, I feel like I maybe could have been just as happy with the Tkees set, this hoodie and pants, as I have been with my silk pajamas. Or a better example, I could have perhaps been just as happy with the print fresh pajamas as I have been with my silk pajamas. Or I could have been just as happy with a different Doen dress if I had ended up choosing a different one. I could have been just as happy with that one as I am with the one that I got. But I have the silk pajamas and I'm just as happy with them as I would be with the cotton ones. And I am just as happy with the Doen dress as I would be with the other one. Backing way up from it the way that I am when I look back over the year, it's like it's not so much about choosing the specific items individually, but more about just giving myself the leeway to explore aesthetics, to make some choices and to acquire some things, but making sure that it is an amount of leeway that I can afford. And also that it adds up to a number of things that I feel comfortable acquiring in the course of a year. And over the course of the year, I'll choose some things and not choose others. But ultimately, there's a cap on the overall spending. There's a limit on what it adds up to. And of course, I want to be mindful. And I really do want to do my best, like do what is humanly possible to do, because you can't totally predict the future and you can't know everything in advance, but do what is humanly possible to make sure that I choose things that I'm going to keep loving and that I'm going to keep, like that I'm going to want to keep and use up completely or use forever. Like that is my goal when I decide what to acquire. But I also don't want to stress about being 100% certain that I'm choosing only exactly the perfect right things and optimizing absolutely every cent of my budget and absolutely every corner of my house and every square inch of my person is like been chosen and measured against I just don't want to freak out about making sure that every choice is the optimal choice. And like backing up and looking at what I did buy and what I didn't, I feel so much more relief about the fact that I didn't go over my budget than I feel like joy about having made the perfect decisions. You know what I mean? I feel like I had a good year with this. Like I like the things that I bought and I'm glad that I didn't buy all of this other stuff that I wanted. And so it's been a good experience. And so in a way, backing up from it like this makes me feel like my budget, I'm starting to think of my budget as being a budget for experience, like for the experience of growth and pleasure, rather than for stuff. like 4 individual things. And again, this is kind of like a new thought that I'm just having now as I'm filming this. So I know we're getting very abstract and it's time to end the video, and I don't know if I've articulated it very well, but I am like seeing things a little bit from a different angle at the end of this year in particular as I look back over this list of things that I wanted and didn't buy. It's like it's not about perfect choices, or it's rather like there are no perfect choices, you know? I want to be making good choices and I don't want to overspend. And beyond that, I feel like perfection in the choices around just spending my budget. It's almost like that is something, even as I've been telling myself I'm trying to let go of perfection. For a while here, I've really been pushing myself still to seek perfection in those choices. And this list is kind of making me see that that's not a thing. All right, I really do need to go now. I'm getting very, very out there. Maybe some of you are still with me, but let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I hope that this was fun to watch. It was kind of grueling to film. Sometimes I say I hope this was as fun to watch as it was for me to film, but in this case, I kind of hope it was more fun to watch than it was for me to film. But I did it. I filmed it. It's over now, and I so appreciate you for being here. And of course, as always, I so hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself, because that's what'll make you the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.